The Multimedia Ninja Podcast, episode 37. Hello again, and welcome to the Multimedia Ninja Podcast, where it's all about surviving and thriving in the digital convergence. My name is Bradford Rogers, and I'll be interviewing some multimedia ninjas who are making things happen in their respective fields, and sharing tips, tools, and insights for multimedia artists and content creators. As always, you can find show notes at themultimedianinja.com. This week, Harold Sellers is back to talk Adobe Creative Cloud and a shoot on a ship. As you may know, in this podcast series, my friends and I will be talking about all things multimedia, including creativity, shaping your ideas, and how to be more productive doing it, regardless of what kind of content you're creating. We have got an exciting episode for you today, so what do you say we just let's get to it? We are back with Mr. Harold Sellers. What's shaking, man?
Nothing. Just finished some lunch, so I'm ready to join your dog on the floor.
Yeah.
And take a little nap.
Daisy's helping us out here.
She's warming up my spot for later.
So you just got back from a couple of things. You did a shoot on a ship.
Shoot on a ship.
And then you're in Pennsylvania for something.
Rock stars and hot rods.
Nice. Okay. Rock stars, hot rods, ships, and music.
Yes.
That sucks, man.
It's a rough life. I saw a shirt while I was on the cruise that the guy that hired me, an amazing camera guy, Rhett Thompson in town, had a shirt on one day that said, my job is your vacation. And
yeah.
kind of can relate to that. Makes me feel guilty sometime, but
We were just talking about I'm selling my Sony HDV cams on the eBay, and by the time you hear this, they'll be gone. So don't even think about it. And I'm trying to get because I got these two. These may go somewhere later. Well, I'll keep them, but two little Kodak cameras, which are waterproof.
Yep.
You can they have a viewfinder. And all that stuff. And of course, I got my Canon, the one that makes you look sexy here, the 6D with the 85 millimeter lens for whoever's keeping track. So I got those and a GoPro, and these Kodaks are actually cheaper than the GoPro by a lot.
Great little cameras. Yeah.
And the field of view isn't crazy wide, if you don't want it to look like a snowboarding.
Yep.
Only thing I'm running into with these is that looks like the exposure it like tracks. It tries to track exposure, and it's like all of a sudden it's it's changing, and it seems to do it in a little chunky manner. But
weird.
For podcasting, I think they'll do fine. But
I don't think our exposure is going to change much.
Yeah, well, it may on there. It'll just go, hey, nope, let's make Harold dark all of a sudden.
I like that.
Especially out on the water. But that leads me to what's new with your setup, and what are you using right now for your go-to?
Well, right now I just got the MacBook Pro. I've got the Pegasus Thunderbolt RAID.
Yep.
Adobe, Premiere CC.
Uncanny, except for the CC part.
We'll
get
CC
into that.
Now? I don't even know what version
you are.
You
are.
Okay.
I'm not.
I don't know.
We'll have to touch on that.
That's it. I actually just recently noticed that, I think I was telling you about it a second ago, that Blackmagic, I use their color corrector a lot. Their
right.
I just drew a blank on the name. Resolve 12.
Yeah. I was going to say Illuminati. That's not it.
No, that's Premiere. But no, I've had Resolve 12. I bought the Pro version, for $9.95 or whatever it is, and I really like it a lot. Of course, Adobe's new upgrade, the color corrector in it is amazing. It's real time, and I really like it a lot.
Yeah, and the crowd loves it too.
Sounds like other people like it too. But one of the things I like the most about it is I use Lightroom. So I'm real familiar with the Lightroom setup, and the new Premiere color corrector is similar to Lightroom with the sliders and all. You can slide and change the color temperature and things, and it's really cool. But I've had Resolve for a while, and started to use it on certain things if I need to track and separate background from foreground for color correction. It really works well. And stuff like, come on, Blackmagic's the leader as far as I'm concerned in color correcting. But I've noticed recently on their Pro version and the free version, they've added a new tab where you can do editing. and it's free. So I've watched a couple of YouTube videos of people doing some comparison Premiere versus Blackmagic Resolve on the editing side, and I was like, wow, I'm going to give this a shot. So last weekend, without ever looking at their editor, I imported an XML of a project from Premiere, brought all over the DV moves, everything came in flawlessly. And without ever editing on it, I went ahead and started cutting and editing a project and was blown away. So now I'm on the fence. Do I stay on Adobe for $50 a month, or do I jump into another program? And the cool thing about it is there's no compatibility issues. You just give you an XML or an EDL, and you bring it in, and you go.
Right.
So yet another option. We had to go from Final Cut, and then we had to go to Premiere, and now there's your Avid, and here's another really, really good editor. And the thing that blew me away is it's free. It's a pro app. I mean, it's not like iMovie for your 8-year-olds to jump on, but
the first hit's free, and then they start.
No, it's of course they're trying to get you to buy their upgrade, but it's even if you upgrade, it's $1,000 and you own it.
Right.
You're not paying $50 a month, and I'm sure they'll hit you for an upgrade fee down the road. But I kind of like that version versus the pay monthly.
Yeah, well, that's where I'm at. That's why I'm on CS6. We might have touched on before, as opposed to Creative Cloud, because there's a lot of cool stuff on Creative Cloud, but it's like I've paid for the Adobe Master Collection.
Sure. Yeah, same here.
And like CS3, and then I upgraded CS4, then I've gotten whatever along the way, and I own those, and then I'm not real hip to paying a monthly subscription since I own the stuff.
I'm right there with you, but I owned it too, but at the same time, I'm a work-for-hire guy. I have clients coming in every day, different clients, and you can't be in a situation where the client goes, well, this isn't compatible with you. Well, I'm not. You got to stay current in my field, and it's a drag, but I don't want to be that guy when the client comes in and goes, oh, you're not compatible, and you don't own it. You don't have tech support. You got to treat it like a business. So.
And that leads me to, I was going to ask you, is there anything notable? I know some things with track patching have changed in Premiere CC. Anything else you've noticed that's improved?
The color corrector is the biggest thing to me. I mean, it's amazing. It's just the fact that it's real time, and you can just do it right there on the timeline and move on without bouncing it or dynamic linking to another program or anything. It's just right there.
Right.
And that's the thing that's got me hooked the most right there, is that because everything used to you'd do a job, and then someone would shoot it, and you would get it and edit it. You'd pass it off to somebody else for effects. You'd pass it off to somebody else for color. Now it's all going to everything in the box. So you really got to step up your game and do it all. So I like that a lot.
So I also noticed something online, and I don't know yet if CS6 can do it, but they had live. You can do an After Effects comp, pull it into Premiere, like a lower third, and live edit the text. Which I'm not sure if that's been in there or not. Yeah,
dynamic linking. It's interesting.
I have.
It's a little sluggish sometimes, and depending on the project, I find it's easier just to do it old school. Export your clip, take it in there when you're done. Export a movie, but it's really cool when it's not bogging you down. I can be working on something and send it right into After Effects or right into Photoshop. I can do my lower thirds in Photoshop, bring that comp right in. If there needs a change, you do it in Photoshop. It's done on your timeline. No more exporting, no more sending files back and forth. And same way with After Effects. It's really cool. I mean, I'd be interested to see when other companies, not to mention any names, with their initials are Avid, will catch up and offer those kind of options, because it really changes the world. Like if had a client recently who was doing a very high-end 4K project, and they brought me in to do the offline, and I was doing. They said, "Well, when you're done, we got to export all this into After Effects, where the guy can do the keying and stuff." And I was like, "Really?" I'm like, "No, you don't." And I said, "Where's your system's here? You're on a network." I just shot it all, dynamic linked it into After Effects. He went on the server, opened up the file, did the work across the hall, and it was I bounced back to my timeline, the work's there, and the client was like, wow. It's their own system. They just had never experienced that. And you got to keep impressing and blowing those clients away, or they'll have you back. So far, they haven't had me back. I think I worked my way out of a gig there, but shouldn't have showed them so much, maybe.
There you go. Well, actually, yeah, I use the what is it? Not open in After Effects.
Send comp to After Effects.
Yeah, in the Premiere timeline.
Yeah,
I use that a ton in this podcast, actually. Like,
well, one thing I recommend is, like, let's say I have a layer and I'm going to send it over. I'll copy that layer and put it on top and send it over, because once you do it, there's kind of no undo.
Right.
So that way, if I'm like, I don't like this, I just delete that layer.
Right.
There's my original layer. So that's sort of my backup trick, I guess. So
I had something weird where...
You're sweating. Am I making you nervous?
Yes, you are.
Okay. I have that effect on women and small farm animals, apparently.
It may be maybe these really hot LED lights.
Yeah, they just burn you up.
Now, I had something recent. At the top of the podcast, we have the animated thing, which you feature prominently on the motorcycle in Haiti.
Oh, no. I haven't seen that.
And don't tell anybody. It's like a 25 FPS animation that I gotta tweak that. But anyway, not because I set it up that
24, 25, whatever.
What's a little jitter in there, but. Yeah, I kind of got the comic template, and it's like from some Russian guy, and so it's like 25, but we'll fix that. But yeah, so what I do, it's layers inside of comps inside of comps inside of comps, and I don't want to re-render that whole deal every week, so I'll just take the bit where the guest is at the very top and in the middle, and
.com.
Stick those parts in, and then go in there and just render those parts. I was doing something last time, and I was using the dynamic link, and I brought the comp back into Premiere, and for no reason, in After Effects it looks fine. In Premiere it's like way dark, and there's no setting whatsoever.
That's weird.
Yeah, in After Effects. And I tried rendering the After Effects. Yeah, I forgot what all I did, but finally I did render the After Effects comp and then just brought it in as a movie file, as footage.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just. I haven't experienced that problem, as my friend Rick Shepard over at Atlanta Pro refers to. It's probably an ID10T error.
Yes, indeed. And Rick, who by the way helped set up this fine establishment here,
probably one of the nicest guys in Atlanta.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, and the crowd's in at the right point there. Cool. Yeah, speaking of Pro Tools as well. Well, we were speaking of Rick. We'll have to speak more of him. But before I forgot, you mentioned you were using, I think, the Blackmagic to import edit session into Pro Tools.
Yes,
and that went less than stellar.
Well, no, it went pretty. It worked. It's great.
They just want you to buy more stuff.
Yeah, I use the Adobe Audition a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll dynamically send my audio over there. I can mix it, and the built-in plugins that it comes with are incredible. I mean, I'm a video guy. I'm not an audio guy, so I'm not going to act like I'm an expert on it. But for what I'm doing, it works great. I can send some stuff over, EQ, compress, whatever, and bounce it back to a track or stems or whatever I want to do. So one of the things I noticed in the Blackmagic was, instead of going into Adobe's stuff, obviously they have an export audio to Pro Tools. So now Pro Tools is offering I forgot what it's called, but it's the free version. So I'm like, well, let me
Light or something.
Yeah, I'm like, let me jump into Pro Tools here. I've watched a lot of people ride the bike, but I've never taken the training wheels off.
It's awesome.
So I downloaded that version, and it worked great. I was again blown away with what Blackmagic is doing. It's kind of scary. I think they got a game changer there. But being the novice at the Pro Tools side, there was just, it seemed to me, and again, I'm not an expert, it's just my impression, but it seemed to me that they want I was like, I want to analyze this audio to figure out where these hums are coming from, to notch some stuff out, and then in Audition, I can just double click the track, it opens up in their little doohickey, for its technical terms there, and it'll analyze it, and you can copy that, sample that frequency right out. And Pro Tools, they take you to you need to buy a plugin for that, and it's $20 to $600. And I was like, so I don't know. I not going to badmouth Pro Tools. It's obviously the leading standard, and it's amazing. But I think I'm going to stick with the where I'm at because of all the plugins that it just comes with are great. So
it's the standard, and I love to hate them.
They want to a la carte everything, but that's their work model. So it works for them, obviously, or they wouldn't be laying so many people off, I guess.
Yeah, right. Actually, I use it, and I'm sure audio guys or musical audio guys would cringe, but a lot of times I'll just go in there and do a hard limit at like -6 or wherever I cut off some of the voice peaks, and then just manually go zip, up to the
I'm right there with you.
just below the top, and then put it back in.
I love it.
And I have Ableton here, which I love Ableton, set up to where Audition is the default sample editor in Ableton and in Premiere. I'll just say edit in Adobe Audition, and Bob's your uncle. So I need to get more into Audition. I'm basically just doing like dynamics, EQ, and that's
Same
almost
here.
all.
Same
So.
here. Well, it's funny when you get into systems. In video, I'm sure it's a lot like audio. It's like, what plugin can I have next?
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was recently, and I don't know if I should be dropping names, but I was renting office over with Phil Tan for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And one day I was, trying to learn more, trying to become a little bit better audio novice than I am. And so I went over there one day. I was like, Phil, come on, give me some secrets here. What are your favorite plugins? What do you use? What's something I should have? And he kind of looked at me and was like, well, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I just use what's in the box. And that blew me away. I'm like, wow, here's this guy that is such a high-end guy. You would think, sure, his outboard gear was insane, but I thought that was really cool that a guy at his level just, hey, it makes sense. Look how good his stuff is, and he's just doing it with what he has instead of doing it from his knowledge versus a bunch of plugins and stuff. And it made me realize, okay, I'm really overthinking a lot of things. Just use what you have and make it sound good.
Right.
So that's all I try to do. I learned a lot from that guy.
We actually had Glenn Schick on a week or two ago, and he mentioned, I don't know if it was the first episode or the second, but I think it's the second one where he said he used to go for everything. He wanted to put his stamp on and grab this knob and do stuff. And he said, and he got stuff from Phil, and he realized sometimes the best thing you can do with some mixers is just don't screw it. Don't screw it up. So have you seen his new digs at Callenwald?
I have not. Had lunch with him a couple weeks back. When we were in the office, one of his beautiful assistants over there referred to all of us as the Ninja Beat Club. So
right.
We'd been moved out of that space for a few months, and I sent a text out there. I said, hey, Lane, let's have some lunch. And she hit back, okay, Ninja Beat Club back together. And Phil surprised us and showed up. And
nice.
We had a great little lunch over at La Fonda on Ponce, and he's like, got to come over and see my place. So I'm really, been busy, but now I'm slowing down for a second. So I look forward to getting that Ninja Beat Club back together for lunch and checking his place out. I hear it's pretty impressive. So
yeah, it's in one of those little, I won't say cabins. It was like I don't know not a barn.
Right.
It's like got stone, but then wood, and it's
and that reminds me of another thing I learned from Phil. I was over at his space for 2 to 3 years renting space from him, and growing up in the music industry. And hearing stuff, everybody blasts stuff. You go into these control rooms, just loud. They're banging it out with the giant speakers. I never heard a sound out of Phil's room, ever. He has got to be the quietest mixing guy I've ever seen. But he'll probably get a lot more years out of that than the rest of us.
Right.
None of us can hear anymore, and I'm sure he still can. So
interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't been privileged to be.
2-3 years in that recording studio, never heard a sound come. And his room was 20 feet from me.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Well, let me ask you on the Premiere side before I forget it. Random question, but I'm thinking.
I'll give you a random answer.
Good.
Might not be the right one, but
yeah. If you're doing a series, what would be the benefits or drawbacks if you have any like knee-jerk response to like having like the whole season series in one project so that you can just grab all the assets and?
Well, that's exactly how I work. I keep if it's a series of stuff, I keep everything in one project because you are going to share scenes from or B-roll or something that might work in every shot.
Right.
You have to cheat a lot in TV. I know it's hard to believe that it's not all real time, but so I would, depending on how it's delivered, I probably wouldn't put every episode on the same timeline.
Right.
You'd
have different
maybe at
master
the end.
sequences.
Yeah, exactly. But I keep all my assets. I look at my sessions like this. I try to keep things to where if somebody came by, if I fall out today and disappear off the earth and somebody has to take over, I want them to be able to look at that and understand it.
Right.
I don't know how many projects I get handed off to me, and you look at the timeline and you're like, oh my God, what is this? Why it's video. Why is there 82 tracks of audio and 72 layers of video for a 22-minute episode? What is going on here? It's amazing how some people edit these days. I try to keep mine to the minimum.
Right.
Simple, less is more. again, make it where somebody comes. If you came in behind me and looked at it, you would at least know what's going on.
Right.
You know? So
at least with your organization.
Yeah. It really makes a difference. You know, it's like. You know, it's like the old, you can tell how a person is by looking at their room, you know, their bedroom, you know,
Right.
Oh, it's a mess, or it's neat. You know, my bedroom is a mess, but I try to keep my timeline clean.
Yeah. Never mind. I was going to go somewhere with that. I'll just skip
it out.
Yeah,
Let's keep it out of the bedroom, okay?
So, I'm just about to get it. I had that brainstorm, and I thought, you know, I've got all these assets. I think I'm going to start putting, you know, the Multimedia Ninja, the whole series, at least a season at a time, in one project.
Sure.
So I can grab those assets, and I was already starting to notice now I'm developing the assets where I can go, hey, when we talk to Watson Woo aboard the sailboat,
Sure.
you know, I can go, bing.
Well, even if you don't, let's say you have 10 episodes in one session and you have something you want to pull, you can just import that timeline or that entire session right into that.
Right.
But now on your hard
messier.
drive now is messy. Your session might be clean, but now you've got multiple things in your on your hard drive. Where I like to keep everything as organized as possible,
Right.
everything in one file. Again, where not only the timeline, if you open up my hard drive, I want you to be able to look at that and go, oh, okay, this makes sense. Versus, well, why is there 14 Bradford projects in
Right,
here? You know,
right.
Which one is what?
That's another thing I'm wrestling with. And I did finally, I've dedicated like a 4 terabyte drive to the Multimedia Ninja for this season at least, and it'll probably start to run over with footage, but maybe I don't know how long it'll take to fill that up. 13 gigabytes an hour times
a minute.
But I'm still struggling, and always have, with the fact if I'm doing music projects and doing video and doing, like, if you're a photographer, and thanks to the dogs for that announcement.
Oh, I thought that was another sound effect.
Yeah, those will come up at any time, but we just let them wander in and out.
Yeah, it's fine.
But yeah, if you're a photographer, you probably use maybe Lightroom, and it's got its own little database, and you know how you're going to organize your stuff. But then if you start where you're having to use photographs, video, music projects, all that, some of them want to be. Generally, I'd like to keep the project files, After Effects, Premiere, whatever, in their own folder, in a master folder.
I do that within my project. If I have Bradford project, the Multimedia Ninja project folder. Right. Within that, I'll have my Premiere folder with the sessions and assets in that. Within that, I'll have my Lightroom. Within that, I'll have my After Effects. I don't have separate folders on my hard drive for here's all my After Effects projects, here's all my Lightroom. It's per project. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. I didn't know how to say that. Per project.
Right.
So one day I'll learn how to make some kind of template for that. That might be my next venture.
And did you use any synchronized folders to back up stuff, or?
Right now, I just manually drag and drop things and back it up, or I'll use the media tool within, Adobe to back stuff or archive or whatever. Right. But yeah, I back up everything. You have to. Yeah, it's funny. I'm gonna knock on wood. I haven't had any problems lately where I've lost anything or had anything crash. But just, when I finish. I do it in stages. When I start a project, of course, it's not backed up. If I work 2 or 3 days on it, then I start my backup, and then I'll work 2 or 3 more days, update that backup, because you never know what's going to happen. But you have one 4 terabyte, I have 2. One for everything and one backup. But the drives are getting so inexpensive these days. What I've started doing with clients is personal stuff I keep forever, but I'm a billable guy. You got to make a living doing this. It's very expensive to maintain this equipment, insure this equipment, and pay your bills. So I give my client the option. If when we're doing a project and we're finished, I'm like, okay, what do you want me to do with this? Well, most of them just want their assets and their master. I try to encourage them all. Hey, let me back all this up to you, and here's a
for a
terabyte and a half drive I paid $90 for now, and then here you go and take it. But it's amazing how a lot of people just don't care about their assets. They're like, yeah, I just want the master buy. Yeah. And I try to tell them, look, the stuff has a value down the road. It's all about content, but it's how do we educate those clients on that? Because sure enough, they come back a year later. Oh man, do you still have that? It's like, no.
If you want don't worry about it.
If you want me to keep it, I'll be happy to keep it. But would you let me keep all my spare junk at home in your shed out back without charging me? No, so, but I don't know, it's weird. So I try to encourage everybody when I'm done to take a backup of the project, and I usually keep it even when they don't pay for 6 months until I need the space, but because it will come back to haunt you, and it's very impressive to the client even though they're not paying. You go, well, I think I do still have that, but But they don't want to rent that space for very long. So.
Right. What total tangent, except that it's Premiere. But do you have any? I'm really been working on speeding up the editing workflow, and I'm curious to what extent you. Like, I've seen people that want to be all keyboard driven. I see people that are like left-hand keys, right-hand mouse, where you try to not move your fingers at all, or
Well, it's funny. I started back in the day. I'm an older guy. I started on switchers and ADOs and all this crazy stuff. And then when Avid first hit the scene, it was mouse and keyboard. And then I jumped to Quantel for years. Worked on EditBox and Henry's and Howell's, and it was the giant, wonderful Wacom tablet, pen-based, which I really loved.
Right.
And took that over into Avid land, into I worked on the DS system for a while. It was pen-based, and I really liked it. But then when I went to Final Cut, I don't know, I went back to the keyboard and this guy, the whatever that's called, trackpad. So I'm a keyboard and trackpad guy all the way, and just go. And I don't care how much my fingers move. I'm going.
Right. Yeah, I'm getting to the point where I'm thinking mobile. There's a lot of studio extra assets I've divested myself of.
Sure.
Doing a lot more GoPro portable camera because those are getting better, and people are also used to, especially podcasts and whatever. So small stuff, backpack, and I'm trying to think what sort of methodology is going to be best on a laptop, because I'm not going to take a 108 key extra thing. I might take a mouse.
It's funny. 10 years ago I just did a shoot in Pittsburgh this last weekend, or day before yesterday. Had to fly them back, and back in the day it was 10 cases of gear, or you rent a truck when you get there or whatever.
Right.
Now my standard on the road stuff is a couple terabyte small portable USB 3 drive, my MacBook Pro, my camera bag with my Canon camera and lenses, and a monopod, and maybe a couple. I've got the light bar. I don't even know who makes it. It's this little daylight light bar that's really looks like a lightsaber.
All right, I'm getting rid of the bricks. I'm getting a light bar.
Some of the bricks too. But my point is, we left 2 days ago to go do the shoot for some hot rod thing, a car rebuild, and I checked one Pelican case, a small one, had my backpack and my computer bag. Everything I had, I could shoot, edit, everything. I mean, by the time we're sitting in the airport, we shot it that day. That night in the hotel room, I went through, made sure everything looked and sounded pretty, and we didn't miss anything. The next day, we went and had an amazing lunch at this crazy place in Pittsburgh with this famous sandwich shop that about killed me. I don't think I'm going to eat for a week.
I think I saw that on Instagram or something.
This was the first shoot.
Large piece of meat.
Yeah, we ate more than we shot, for sure. And then, get to the airport, and we got a couple hours early, so I'm sitting there with a client, and we're editing on my lap. I don't bring an extra. I used to bring an extra keyboard.
Now, wait, on your lap or your laptop?
Both. On my laptop. So I get back home last night at
hopefully
8 o'clock.
Small client.
Yeah. Well, no, he's a good size guy.
Dear.
He's a big old burly tough guy. So, but yeah, by the time I got home at 7 o'clock last night, 3/4 of the project is finished. I mean, and you couldn't do that back in the day. It's crazy. So I'm more, I guess I'm getting older. Back, just a few years ago, it was, how much stuff can I take with me?
Right.
Now it's how little can I take with me?
Zen.
Relax. And again, it's a little uncomfortable sitting with a laptop on your lap without a mouse and without the extended keyboard, but you can still do the same thing. So, but yeah, it's probably killing my billable hours doing it that way, but. Again.
You can't go, well, I had to do 2 days in the studio.
But I look at a lot of people complain about that. Oh, you're going to lose money. I'm like, well, I would rather get it finished quicker for the client where they can bring me more projects than extend it out to try to drag my billable hour out and then bring me less projects. So I guess it depends on how you want to look at it.
Truly words to live by. Well, we are completely out of time, so that about wraps up this week's episode of the Multimedia Ninja podcast. I hope you'll come back next week and bring your friends. Huge thanks to Mr. Harold Sellers for making his first video appearance on the show. And a very special secret, there is a darn good chance there'll be some bonus audio that is not on the video version if you just check back on themultimedianinja.com. If you're subscribed to iTunes, you'll get it automatically. And with that, I'm going to let you go. Just be sure to join us for the next episode, because I don't want to have to show you those nude pics I took for GQ magazine. We'll catch you then. Bye.